In this short video, I'm going to share with you my top 10 strategies for property investing in 2021. Hi, my name is Mark Lloyd. I've been a property investor since 2005 and co-founder of Property Master Academy. So here's my top 10. Number 1, serviced apartments. Now, we're at a stage where we're just coming out of lockdown, and I think for the next 12 months in particular, the serviced apartment industry will be extremely busy as people are looking for accommodation. They're looking to go away, and we've still got that uncertainty as far as international destinations are concerned. But on home soil, I think there will be a boom in that market for at least the next 12 months. So that would certainly be one of my higher end strategies. And number 2, I put rent to rent, but the HMO model. We've seen over the years that HMOs are always in high demand in the right areas. At the end of the day, we don't have enough properties in our country either to buy or to rent. And when someone's looking to start out, maybe just leaving home or looking about student accommodation, it's the obvious choice. So at rent to rent, HMOs is a fantastic strategy if done correctly. Thirdly, lease options. Now, lease options work when there's uncertainty in the market. And what have we got at the moment? Now, we've had a booming market, we've reached all-time highs, but now the initial part of the stamp duty relief has dropped. That will disappear totally in September, as will the furlough scheme. And I think that's going to create some uncertainty in the market. And when there's uncertainty, lease options are a fantastic strategy. They work better in some areas of the country than others, but generally speaking, lease options are a great strategy as long as you apply them correctly. Next, we've got title splitting. Now, what is title splitting? Well, it's essentially when you're looking at a property that perhaps can be subdivided into a number of different titles. And a common example of this would be where, say, a landlord has converted a large property into 4 flats, but hasn't actually split the title. And how you create value there is by splitting the titles, you are potentially creating some value because you're creating a freehold as well as the 4 flats. Now, obviously, you've got to do your figures, and they're paramount in this to make it work, but a great strategy if you understand it. Following on from that, we have short leases. Now, short leases is a fantastic strategy regardless of where you are in the country, because as a lease becomes shorter, and I'm talking about leasehold property here, as it becomes shorter and less than usually about 70 years, it is very difficult to get a mortgage on it. It's not impossible, but it is very, very difficult. And the lower that becomes, the more difficult that becomes. And that creates an opportunity for you as the investor where you can extend that lease, and by doing that, you're adding value to that property. Now, of course, there's a lot of calculations involved in this to make sure you're getting the property at the right price, but by extending that lease and knowing how it's done can create a huge capital uplift where you could potentially pull out all of your money in that deal. Next in line, I've got commercial property. Now, commercial property has suffered a little bit over the lockdown period and during the pandemic, but I think that's going to start picking up again now. And there are potential opportunities all over the country where there's been empty buildings. Businesses are still going to want to find premises to work from. So I think there's a fantastic opportunity there for getting some of the empty commercial buildings at a knockdown rate. Because when the value in commercial property is when you put the tenant in there, a good quality tenant. And that's how you get the uplift on commercial property. And again, potentially almost a no money down type of deal where you can pull out all of your cash. What's the attraction of commercial property? Well, it differs quite a lot to residential property. If you look at residential property, you as the landlord are responsible for all maintenance and insurance, quite simply. On a commercial property, you're not. And that's the major difference. Plus also, commercial property tenants have a longer term, whereas on residential, it starts at 6 months and hopefully they'll stay for a number of years. But on a commercial basis, you usually look at a minimum commercial lease of 5 years upwards. And I've seen some for 20, 25 years, certainly for some of the blue chip companies. So a fantastic strategy, again, if you understand it. Then, of course, we've got the BRRR model, the buy, refurbish, rent, refinance. Now, again, that works in some areas of the country very, very well, and in others, not so much. But it's more about what are you looking to extract from the property. So in other words, in terms of your cash, are you looking to try and get all of your cash out? In which case, there are some areas of the north of the country where that works much, much better. But if not, then it generally will work in most areas. And it's a fantastic way of starting off with a pot of money and making maximum use of that money. So buying a property, putting some money in, waiting, completing the refurbishment and renting the property, and then waiting at least 6 months to withdraw some of that cash. If you can wait a bit longer, even better, because you will have added value to that property. So as long as you've added value, you should be able to draw out some cash and hopefully a large proportion of your initial deposit and refurbishment money. Next, we've got flips. Again, another great strategy, works better in some areas of the market than others. I think at the moment, with the market being quite a hot market, doing a flip can be a little bit difficult, getting the property at the right price. But again, you want to look out for those opportunities. There's always opportunities on all of these strategies. There's always opportunities regardless of what the market is doing. So make sure you do your numbers. And I would suggest you need to be looking for at least a minimum of 15, preferably 20% profit on your flip to make sure that you've got any hidden things covered there and also any change in the market that might happen. At number 9, we've got deal sourcing and packaging. Now, deal sourcing and packaging was one of the very first strategies I did when I started investing in property, because I realised very quickly that it takes a while to build up the rental income. So I wanted to supplement that with some deal sourcing and packaging. Now, deal sourcing and packaging has certain rules and regulations around it. You need to be compliant, so there's a few things that you need to pay for to actually make that happen. But you need to be a compliant deal sourcer if you are going to source and package deals. And essentially all the difference is sourcing the deal is finding the property, packaging it up is taking care of a lot of the ancillaries, so that you're providing, in essence, an armchair product to a potential investor. And in fact, when we were sourcing properties, that's exactly what we were doing. We were looking for those armchair investors. They were our ideal client. Well, whoever your ideal client is, make sure that you are offering a fantastic service that they'll buy from you again and again and again. And at number 10, we've got development. Now, if you're a newer investor watching this video, you might think, well, I can't really do development yet. I don't know enough. I need to start in the traditional model where I start with buy-to-lets and HMOs and gradually work up and do flips and commercial, and then eventually get to that development project. Well, I have to tell you, as a new investor, you can do development. We can turn that whole thing on its head. We can actually start with development. And we've had some of our mentees have done this. And in fact, we've just launched a development mentorship program specifically aimed at the newer investors that want to understand how to do it with our guidance. Because you will need guidance, there's no question about it. Development is a little bit more complicated than all of the other strategies. So you're going to need some guidance, and we're there to give it to you. Well, I hope you found this video useful. If you have, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and also like the video and share it with your friends. If you've got any other strategies you'd like to comment on, please put below. And if you are working on the ones I've already mentioned, please also add in the comments below. Hope you found this video useful. Thanks for listening.